Honey. Come on, honey. Wake up.
No, so tired.
It's our engagement party. All of our friends are going to be here.
I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to sleep.
Fine. Put on your Cinco FaceTime party snoozer then.
It's the Cinco FaceTime Party Snoozer. Sleep right through parties and social gatherings without anyone noticing. The Cinco FaceTime Party Snoozer features 5 distinct audio responses using my professional voice. And the Cinco FaceTime Party Snoozer comes with this amazing body brace and earphones that pipe in soothing music so you won't need to hear a single word anyone is saying.
My accountant tells me that I might be eligible for a 436 rebate now.
Sure, why not?
As a small business owner, that's exactly what you want to hear.
I understand.
So I'm thinking, rebate, sign me up. Of course I want
Thanks
a
for
rebate.
coming. Take part in interesting conversations while you get much-needed rest.
We'd be on this river, and it would wind around like this.
Sure, why not?
We'd have our fishing
I
poles
understand.
and pull in the fish.
I understand.
The fish would be flapping around.
Sounds
like
good.
this, and nobody's fishing us at all.
Okay.
But, you know.
Thanks for coming.
We caught maybe, I don't know, a dozen or so.
I understand.
Blue river.
Okay.
Really gorgeous, though.
Sure, why not? It's the Cinco FaceTime Party Snoozer. I understand. TBTL.
What's up, Internet? What's up?
It's people who identify as nerdy, rapping about the things they love, video games, science fiction, having a hard time meeting romantic partners.
Losers, in other words.
Well,
I'll tell you another thing. Once you step inside this circle, the weather never changes. It is always 67 degrees with a 40% chance of rain. Always.
What if my heart stops beating? What if I'm looking for a bathroom, I can't find it, and my bladder explodes?
Holy forking shirt balls. We're in the good place.
Well, all right. Hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Tuesday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
I can't believe you're still on the air.
My name is Luke Burbank. I am your host,
Mr. Unlimited.
coming to you from the very large Apple.
Live from New York.
That's right, from the corner of 7th Avenue, and actually can't see what the cross street is. Mere steps from Central Park, where it is going to be, I think, in the mid-90s today, and also in the mid-90s of humidity. So
it's going to be very hot. It's going to be very uncomfortable for everybody.
Going to hide out here in the air-conditioned hotel room with my iced coffee, which I need in order to bring you episode 4,505 in a collector series.
Let the fun begin.
Because if we're not having this iced coffee, there's a decent chance that I would just fall asleep right here behind this microphone.
We're just blowing through nap time, aren't we?
Since we last spoke on the program, I took a red-eye flight out here to New York City. I interviewed Bridget Everett at Joe's Pub, and I had a run-in with the hotel yesterday that is this increasingly annoying thing that seems to be happening more and more. Which
hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Which I want to tell you about. But yes, I'm a little groggy today. I'm going to try to push through for the next hour or so and bring my best, most awake, most vibrant self. But if I can't, we're going to lean heavily on this guy, the longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. He is Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. I'm trying to figure out if we can turn this into a bit to save me some extra work after the show. Your voice is breaking up a tiny, tiny bit. Everybody can hear what you're saying, but Luke, you sound a little bit like the Cinco Snooze Time Party Mask or Cinco Party Time Snooze Mask or whatever it's called. So I'm thinking if we can just lean into it like that, I don't have to go and try to edit the show together in a way that makes you sound less robotic. So it's a bit, everybody. It's a bit in which I get out of some work.
Not a bug.
Yeah.
But now the problem is now that's baked into the show, so if you decide you want to go in and fix it, then this whole part will, I guess, you're going to end up having to Well, I guess you don't have to cut out something. That would only be if you decided to do extra work.
Right, which I might end up piecing this together, and the listeners just need to know that if you've heard everything sounding pristine and clean, just know that I've made the edits, and I did it for you, dear listener, because there's nothing I wouldn't do for you. And,
actually, you know what, Andrew? I want to be serious for a moment here. Whenever you have the option of like, kind of, I don't know, spending less time with the audio of the show, in my experience, you always spend more time with the audio of the show. You'll be like, I just want to clean that up a little bit, or I want to fix this or that. You usually sweat the details.
Yeah, I sometimes I'll leave in a little click or a pop. I'll leave in one click and one pop per episode, but probably with this one I'll say, oh, it's fine. The listeners are used to janky podcasts. A lot of podcasts are jankier than this, but then I'll be like, yeah, maybe if I just clean up this one part. And then once you start cleaning, it's like anything. I start cleaning, you start pulling on a thread. I do not want to totally derail the show just by talking about the Cinco FaceTime Party Snoozer, because I feel like every time we play that, we just dissect it. But every time I hear it, there's something new that strikes me as funny. And one thing that I don't think I ever fully realize is the party that he's trying to get out of is not his like friend's anniversary party or even his 20-year marriage. It's their engagement party. This guy who wants to sleep is already so checked out, and he's already just got this, I don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to get out of bed. They're not even married yet, dude. This is their engagement party. And when I heard that today, I was like, oh my God, that's another layer of funny on this.
That just ups the ante on the humor of the piece. Because of the piece. Hey, can you tell I've been thinking about doing television stories too much today? The piece. But no, you're absolutely right. That's, for some reason, that's the funniest party that he could be not wanting to attend.
Yes, it's like he should have more energy at this point, or he should be pretending to have more energy at least at this point. But maybe that stands out to me because I see a lot of myself in the hero of the Cinco FaceTime Party Snoozer mask
But see,
commercial.
you've been with Genevieve for 20 years, so the fact that you've given up now makes sense.
Yeah, I used to try. I mean, it was...
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it was a glorious
and the fact
month.
that he has already given up on trying, and they're just beginning this journey of life together is probably kind of a bad sign. I think I might need a Cinco party. Did you pick that intro tape because you knew that I was going to be tired today?
I did not. I think I picked it because I was tired today, and it was the first thing I saw.
I see. Wait a second. What are you tired from?
No, I was just making a joke. I was feeling a little bit lazy. If you want the honest answer to that,
yes.
I feel like I have a worksheet. I have a spreadsheet in which I write down every intro that we play and the date. I started this about 3 years ago, and it's a good guide for me to make sure that I'm not replaying the same ones over and over again. But the thing is, today I didn't even check it because I grabbed this and I was like, I don't know, I need something quickly. And I have this weird feeling like I played it too recently, but I purposely didn't check the document that I meticulously keep to check it because I was like, sometimes you just don't want to know.
Exactly. I also, first of all, you're being a good colleague, and you're sort of the master of the audio on TBTL. That tends to fall to you, particularly the intro tape. You always build that and stuff. So you're doing, by keeping that spreadsheet, you are being highly professional. But I also detest the spreadsheet because here's what it creates for me. A sense that I'm losing my mind because I have I don't have a spreadsheet. I just have a sense memory of when the last time some of these intros have played. And I'll be like thinking, oh, we just played that like 3 days ago. Andrew's gone crazy. And then you'll go to the spreadsheet and it'll have been 3 years ago.
That did happen once. I think that only happened once, and it happened about a month ago. You're like, we just played that. I'm like, no, we didn't. I mean, the one thing that could happen is sometimes I'll have an intro ready to go for sound check, and then we pull it out and replace with something else at the last minute. That rarely happens, but I'm trying to ungaslight you here. I'm trying to
you're not
gaslighting
you me
because I'm trying to make it sound like maybe
turn on your heart light.
Oh, Neil. I just thought that maybe you had heard it recently, but maybe not on the show, that one that you were mistaken about.
No, I mean, this is one of those, to take it back to relationships, you know how when you're in a relationship and there is a disagreement, one of the things that can be quite frustrating is there's no sort of solid evidence or data to support one side or the other. It's just a couple of people making assertions about, like, if we liked dinner that one time when we went over to, so-and-so and so-and-so. These things that are like kind of highly subjective. And everyone has their experience with things. And so it'll just feel like you're like, I know I'm right about this, but I cannot prove it. This is one of those weird things where it's absolutely provable. You are sitting there with a spreadsheet that is just the unalloyed facts of the case of when things have played. And all I have to rely on is my memory of the time that the Raisin brand son was wearing those sunglasses and activated that one intro tape.
Oh my God. So I swear I saw something on Reddit recently that was a photo of a package from the 90s where it was wearing sunglasses. I mean, is there a chance, but I scrolled through it very quickly. Is there a chance that there was a small time? I mean, I guess this has been fully explored by other content creators, but I feel like there might have been a small period of time when the son wore sunglasses, right? Because this is one of those.
Maybe it was like a special promotion.
Maybe. I mean, well, this is like one of those Berenstain Bear things, right? Like we all think
the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect. We all think that the son was Mandela, and it wasn't portrayed by Mandela.
Yes.
It was just portrayed by a cartoon son.
Exactly. The Mandela effect around the Raisin brand cereal box was that the son had sunglasses on, and the son didn't apparently have sunglasses on. Or is it possible? Do you remember that how to do, what was it called? How To with John Wilson or whatever?
Everybody talked about that. I never got into it, and when I didn't watch it, people were... See, I always get that reaction. I get it from you. I get it from Hannah Brooks Olsen, and I can't remember who else.
I just don't think I can think of a show that would be more up your alley, which I know is the number one way to disincentivize you to want to watch it. But like, it really is just. I just thought about that show today.
You
Andrew.
Always say that. Why do you always think? And can you give me an example of a time that I purposely didn't watch a show because somebody said I'm going to like it? Like, I don't watch that show because I don't watch a lot of TV. And usually if I'm going to watch TV, it's always going to be fictionalized in some way. And I always got the impression that was like sort of a mini doc style. And even though people said I like it, I'm not watching it to despite people, but it just doesn't. Yes. I've never been in the mood to sit down and watch that kind of programming.
Totally. First of all, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that if I recommend something to you, you would not watch it to spite me. I just mean, generally speaking, when in my own life, like if people are berating me about watching something or saying you gotta watch it, it does not make me more inspired to watch it personally. Mm-hmm. It also makes me nervous that it won't live up to the hype that's being hyped around it. Yes. So that's all I meant.
Yeah,
I don't think you're sitting over there like being withholding about the TV that you watch because of, whatever, me recommending it to you. But I just think, that show is so, it's fascinating because, yes, it is documentary style, but really it's sort of fictionalized documentary in a way because it starts off with him just filming all kinds of really just left field stuff in New York City. Just, a pile of like half disassembled office furniture that someone's put out, in front of a store that repairs cell phones. And this is a totally made up example, but like just, first of all, the kind of stuff that I think your photographic eye is interested in, not piles of junk per se, but just like the stuff that is not the stuff that we usually focus on. So from a cinematography standpoint, I think you might find it interesting. And then he basically just takes it from this, he decides to construct some kind of a story each episode about, like, for instance, why I was thinking about him today is because he does a whole episode about scaffolding in New York. Because the deal in New York City is that there are all these, building laws, and there are all these rules around your building. And if, it's been so many years since you've had the brick facade reinforced or tuck pointed or whatever, then you are obligated to do that. But it's millions and millions of dollars. So you can get away with not doing it if you put up scaffolding.
Okay.
And so many New York City buildings, particularly in Manhattan, these beautiful buildings are now just hidden behind essentially permanent scaffolding. The big business in New York is not repairing buildings. It's putting up scaffolding because that's just like you could do that and leave it there indefinitely, and now you don't have to pay all the money. And I thought about this because I went by the Flatiron Building this morning, fully surrounded by scaffolding, like just totally and completely ensconced in scaffolding, which is such a shame because it's such a cool building.
And it's just going to remain like that?
That I don't know.
With
it is
scaffolding?
That is such an iconic building that I'm guessing that they wouldn't, like, there would be a community outcry. I mean, that's like in the top 10 buildings in Manhattan that people kind of know about and think about.
Yeah.
So I don't think they could get away with it on that. But there's hundreds of other just like less distinguished apartment buildings and other buildings that just seem to be permanently scaffolded because the alternative would be to actually do all the repairs you're supposed to do, and that's prohibitively expensive. So this guy, John Wilson, he starts off talking about the scaffolding, but then, of course, it goes all over the place, and it ends up being almost fictionalized in a way because he'll come up with a premise. It almost reminds me a little bit of the Nathan For You season that I haven't actually watched yet, this most recent one, where his premise is airline travel is dangerous or crashes happen because pilots are afraid to speak up when they see their fellow pilot, their co-pilot doing something wrong. Are you familiar with that part of the whole season?
Yeah, but it's not. But this is called The Rehearsal, right? Or am I confusing things? This is Nathan Fielder's newest project. Is it not? Is it not The Rehearsal?
Yes, it's The Rehearsal. Okay. I forgot the name of it, but yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, The Rehearsal has this premise, which I actually find kind of silly personally. Like I didn't watch The Rehearsal because I get a little uncomfortable around who the joke is on when Nathan Fielder is doing his thing. I think it tends to be on everybody else more than I like. And I also don't think that Nathan Fielder is himself concerned about air travel safety, which, by the way, has almost historically never been safer. Like, I think he comes up with this premise of pilots need to talk to each other more, which then allows him to do this whole crazy elaborate season of, all of these reenactments and a fake singing show. I mean, just the world building he does is impressive, to be sure. But I consider that to almost be fictionalized reality because it is real people in it. But I think that the whole thing is on a fictionalized premise, which is pilots need to learn how to talk to each other. So for some reason, Nathan Fielder is dressed up like Sully Sullenberger and he's jogging wearing a Discman. Like, I don't think that that's actually an attempt to make air travel safer on the part of Nathan Fielder. In the same way, this John Wilson guy, this how-to, it's sort of based in reality, but it's also based on some silly premise that he decides is going to be the driving kind of narrative force in each episode. And I don't even know if I buy the premises, but what we always end up somewhere interesting, including the whole conversation about the Mandela effect. And this was where I was going with this is, it is possible. You said, is it possible that the Raisin Bran son was wearing sunglasses? It's also possible that, like what comes up in that episode of his show, he ends up going to a convention in Montana of people that are very, very pretty obsessed with the Mandela effect because their theory is that when we saw the Raisin Bran son with the sunglasses, that was a glitch. That was a jump in the Matrix and the multiverse. We weren't supposed to see that. And now we're back on the regular plan. The regular plan in this version of our life, in this simulation or whatever, is Raisin Bran son does not have sunglasses, but it glitches sometimes. And those of us that remember the version with the sunglasses, we were keyed in on the glitch.
And the glitch resonates stronger with some than others.
Well, if you're awake, bro.
I was trying to Google this while you were talking.
Eyes are open, bro.
And I just typed Raisin Sun Glitch. What I was looking for was Raisin Bran sunglasses.
Oh, the old blues man, Raisin Sun Glitch?
And I'm sitting here talking to you. I'm not trying to make excuses, but because of the technology, I'm having a little bit of trouble following the conversation smoothly as usual, which is, if it seems a little bit awkward today, it's not just because I'm doing poorly here. But as I'm talking to you and listening to you, I just Googled, does this ever happen to you? You're trying to Google something else, but you're trying to do too many things at once. So I just typed in a Raisin Sun glitch. And the thing is, I didn't get the end of the internet icon. I got a lot of results, and that's almost more troubling. It says restoring the sunshine glitch. Do you think this has something to do with restoring the reality? No, it looks like this has
Restoring the sunshine glitch does sound deeply paranoid. Whatever it is, I believe it's coming from a paranoid worldview.
Unfortunately, it looks like this is from a subreddit related to a video game called Dreamlight Valley. So I guess restoring the sun. Oh, and also it's Sunstone Glitch. It's restoring the Sunstone Glitch, which is also, I don't know, there's something poetic about that, restoring the Sunstone
That is
Glitch.
kind of beautiful. Yeah. That sounds, I wonder if that's their version of going into Minus World on Mario Brothers,
right.
like when we were kids.
That's the that's about that's where you and I stopped having our video game references updated. Hey, I'm going to take the reins here because I want to ask you about something.
Please.
Because here's the deal. I meant to tell you before the show today that there's an interesting piece in the Seattle Times that at some point I'd like to tell you about this week, and I'm wondering if you've already seen it. But I'm also wondering if maybe we hang on to this for tomorrow because I really want to hear about your adventures in New York City. But did you see the article in the Times about the Little Red Hen?
No.
Okay, so this is a very famous dive bar in Seattle in the Greenwood neighborhood. It's a holdout
Green
from
Lake.
a lot. I'm sorry, Green Lake. I always do that. It's like a country bar. It's a rare like kind of country music bar in Seattle that also has karaoke, and it's been like around for like decades and decades. I want to say like 80 or 90 years or something like that. And now they may get booted because of a lease dispute with the landlord or the property owner, and it revolves around a dumpster. And I thought maybe you would find that somewhat interesting, but I could also leave that as a tease if we want people to tune in tomorrow.
Could we do this? Could I read in on the story and then can we revisit it tomorrow? Because that has everything, I mean, that's mere steps from where I almost had a bathroom accident at that Starbucks the other day when I was in town. I love the Little Red Hen. I haven't been there in a long time, but that was one of my favorite bars in Seattle. And the idea that it would go away and that it's somehow dumpster related, no, that checks a lot of boxes for me. So how about this? I will read that article. Well, first, what I will do when we're done recording this is I will lie down on that bed over there, Andrew, and I will go to sleep for a long, long time. I hope it's not too long. I hope I don't end up accidentally sleeping for 6 hours and then waking up and then it's like 8 p.m. That would be a bad outcome. That's just that's like I did a whole extra sleep, and then what am I going to do starting at 8 p.m. when I'm waking up? I'm trying to not get my sleep cycle completely off, but man, nothing like, taking the red eye and landing at Newark at, 7 a.m. and then just racing here. I got to the hotel and I got into the hotel room. I got my little suit ready to go, my little outfit to wear for this interview with Bridget Everett from the show Somebody Somewhere. And so I ironed my little shirt and suit and everything. I hung it up and I looked at my watch and I realized I could take a 12-minute nap if I wanted to. I had 12 minutes to kill between, if I got in the lift right then, I would have been 12 minutes earlier than I needed to be at the shoot. So I took a 12-minute nap this morning, which is really the first actual real sleep I got. And let me tell you, I couldn't decide for a while if it was the worst or best decision of my life because I went into a deep, I went past REM. Mm-hmm. What's it deeper than REM sleep? B-52 sleep?
Mm-hmm. I believe so. It definitely comes out of the Atlanta area.
That's right.
Athens.
That's right.
Athens, sorry, not Atlanta.
I was like, there was something about because I didn't sleep. I couldn't really sleep on the plane for some reason. I was lying there or sitting there with my eyes closed, maybe occasionally kind of losing a bit of consciousness, but I didn't get into any real sleep. Plus, the flight is actually only about 4.5 hours, which weirdly I wanted it to be longer because it was so I flew from Portland to Seattle and then Seattle out here to New York. And when they announced and the flight was delayed a little bit, so it was 10 p.m. Seattle time when we're taking off, and they're like, enjoy our 4.5 hour flight to Newark Liberty. And I'm thinking, that's not enough time. Because they're going to bring out some snacks. I'm going to have a club soda. I'm going to have, if they're serving some food, I'm going to have a little food. Then they're going to take that away. And then I'm going to put on first of all, I'm going to keep doing some research for this TV story. Then I'm going to put on my eye mask and try to really get some sleep. And then we're going to be an hour out from Newark.
So in other words, not even worth trying to sleep.
Yeah. In other words, there's not enough time in the 4.5 hours is not enough time because first of all, like a half hour of it is getting up to cruising altitude, and then the flight attendants are making the way around. And I'll call my privilege out here. I was lucky enough to be up towards the front of the plane, so that's kind of nice. But it also means they'll bring you a fruit and cheese box if you want one, which is tempting. And so it's like I'm going to be interacting with them for a while. I'm also have some work to do. And then when you're about 45 minutes out, they turn all the lights on and they say, all right, tray tables up, seats upright position. So you're talking about maybe an hour and a half in the middle there where you can even, if you were lucky, get some sleeping in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, can we do one more loop? Can I get 5 to 6 hours of uninterrupted plane is just cruising a long time? And the answer was no. I was outvoted by every other person on the flight. They said, no, we're just going to take the most direct route. So I might have gotten, 30 minutes of fitful sleep on the flight. So that I get here and I'm like kind of nervous about taking a 12-minute nap because it seems dangerous. Like if my alarm does not go off on my phone, it's game over. But I also thought, I wonder if that could be the 12 minutes of sleep, of restfulness that actually saves my bacon. Like if I go into this interview on basically 0 minutes of sleep, am I going to just like be a total space cadet? Is this just going to be the worst interview I've ever done? Which would be such a bad outcome because I am such a fan of Bridget Everett's work that it's like if there's one interview I wanted to do a good job on, it was this one.
Yeah. Do you think that 12-minute, I'm with you. I'm a very scared person, generally speaking. So as soon as you said a 12-minute nap, I'm like, dangerous game, Dano. Like that's what reminds me of that story I've told way too many times. When I was a kid, I stayed up all night. I was proud. Stayed up all night with my buddy, and then just sat down on the couch for like 1 second in the afternoon, fell asleep, woke up and thought I had slept through the night, and like got dressed in my uniform and raced on my bike to work, and then I realized, oh, it's the Sunday evening. It's not Monday morning. I was just so discombobulated from not sleeping for so long that I fell asleep, thought it was just going to be a couple of minutes, woke up, thought it was like 8 hours, and it turns out it was like an hour. So I just felt like I was just so freaked out and discombobulated that I would be very nervous to try to take a 12-minute nap before such an important gig. And you were in your hotel room, right? It's not like You're in a lobby or something. I'm going to close my eyes for a second and then the coffee cart will wake me up. I don't know why there's a coffee cart in this lobby that I'm talking about, but I'm picturing it the 1960s in a very fancy hotel.
Yes, I'm like Eloise, and I'm at the Plaza right now,
great,
Andrew,
perfect.
and it's just all coffee carts. I was in the hotel room and I was doing that thing where I was lying on top of the made bed.
Just I wouldn't even
resting
have
my head on the
bed.
pillow.
I would have sat in the chair. Is there a chair?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was dangerous. And then I'll tell you this: when my alarm went off, okay, first of all, I got to fix my alarm. The alarm that goes off, I have a regular in the morning alarm that goes off, most weekday mornings, and it's very soothing. It kind of gently brings me out of sleep. Then there's the one that's just like regular alarm. Like I want to set an alarm for 2 p.m. to remember that I've got to call somebody or we have a meeting or something. And that alarm is so heinous and jarring. And I didn't even intentionally set it, but what happens is it goes off. I jump out of my skin. I turn it off. And I think, I got to fix that. And then I don't think about it again until the next time it's going off and I'm jumping out of my skin. Mm-hmm. When that alarm went off after my 12 minutes of sleep, I felt like I had astrally projected out of my body somehow. Like I was so confused. I had told myself, when this alarm starts when I was falling asleep, I said, when this alarm starts playing, you walk to the bathroom and start showering. Because I had all my clothes laid out. I was going to take a shower as a little wake 'em up, as you like to say. And I was like, it was like Severance in the way that, like Adam Scott's character is trying to pound something into his own head so that when he gets to the severed floor, it's still in there somewhere.
So this is an interesting development, though. So you haven't taken a shower yet you've still specified 12 minutes as being the time. Like when I think of 12 minutes, like something so specific like that, I think that means that it is 4 let's see here, 4:18, or I'm not doing my math right, but like somebody is going to be there or what would it be? Yeah, 4:18. Would that be that somebody's picking you up at 4:30? I'm doing math on the air and I'm totally flushing
Yes, that's
here.
correct.
But anyway, you know what I mean? Like something very specific like that. But you're like, no, I have 12 minutes before I get up and take a shower. Like I think my instinct would be like, well, I've got to, it sounds like you actually had like, I don't know, 20 minutes and you decided that 12 of them were for napping and the rest were for showering or something. I'm not like that. I would just take an extra couple of minutes in the shower or something.
Well, the thing is, I couldn't take a shower and then nap.
No.
And I had more time than I needed for the shower. And so I decided, yes, to divide it up and figure out that I was like, so basically it was like, let's just say it was, I knew that I needed to be stepping into the shower at 9 a.m. New York City time because I needed to be in the lift at 9:15 because I needed to be at Joe's Pub at 9:45. I had literally mapped this all out based on like Waze-ing it and lift schedule and everything. And so at 8:48, I realized I have 12 minutes here before I need to be standing in the shower. And I'm not going to just waste those 12 minutes. I'm going to use them for restful sleep. Actually, I just got on the, lying on top of the bed and playing my fan sound effect, my white noise machine. And I did set the alarm because I was like, this is super dangerous what I'm doing. But I thought maybe I'll just sit here and rest for a little while. I wasn't exactly sure what was going to happen, but I needed to have the alarm set in the case of what did happen, which was I passed the bleep out. And then, but again, I kept telling myself before I fell asleep, I was like, this alarm, I was like, Burbs, you're going to hear a sound in about 12 minutes. It is going to be totally disorienting. You're not going to know what to do next. What you do with a beautiful shirt, what you do is you just walk towards the bathroom and you turn on the shower and everything will take care of itself from there. I was like pre-programming my brain so that when the alarm went off at 9 a.m., which also, by the way, is still 6 a.m. for me in my body's clock, when the alarm goes off at 9 a.m., I don't like hit snooze. I don't say 5 more minutes, Mom. I don't like roll over. I would like Manchurian candidated myself. Like go to that shower, get in that shower, and then you will wake up. And it actually worked.
Did you burn the message onto your retinas? Is that what he does in Severance?
I've never seen the movie.
What movie are you talking about?
The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, I was thinking of Severance again. Doesn't he?
Oh.
Isn't there something where he's got a really high-powered flashlight or something? He's in a car by himself.
I don't think I got that far.
In Severance? Did you not get...
I don't think I finished it.
I thought it was season 1. I thought he does something where he tries to create an image on his retinas and then get into work
I do remember
so
this.
that because he times out, like if you stare at something for too long that's like very bright or has brightness and darkness, it'll sort of like imprint on your retinas for a little bit and you close your eyes and you see the message. And so I thought he was timing out how long he could try to trick his brain or his eyes into getting a message to his innie that way. And I believe it did not work.
I think I have a memory of that now happening on that show. If I could have done that, I would have. Because again, this used to happen when I worked in morning radio in my early 20s. I would be so tired sometimes because you're getting up at 3:30 in the morning, sometimes 3 in the morning to go into these super early morning jobs. And I would... Mostly this would actually happen in the daytime to me, but because I would then, I'd go to work super early and then I'd go like pick Addie up from half day kindergarten or something and then her mom would come get her or whatever. And there'd be some point in the day where I could take a nap. And the people that are really, I think, that do okay with that schedule are people that probably don't nap as much. They probably just like go to bed at 5 p.m. and get up at 3 a.m. and that's their schedule. I was not able to do that. I was always just trying to sneak an hour or two wherever I could. And there would be, I don't know if you ever had this experience, but like there was many times where I'd be like on my couch and an alarm would be going off, like an alarm clock or something. This is way before we had iPhones with alarms on them. The alarm would be going off and I would be looking at it in total confusion. Like, I know that this sound means something. Something's supposed to happen now that this sound is happening. I don't know what that thing is. Like, I wouldn't know if it was day or night. I almost wouldn't know how to turn the alarm off. It would be so hard for me to process what was going on because of just exhaustion, I guess. I was worried that was going to happen to me this morning, and yet I still took a 12-minute nap. I still risked this entire production on my 12-minute nap.
Yeah, and I mean, again, this is where you and I are just so different with time and everything. It's like 12 minutes is so negligible, and maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe you feel like the interview did go better because you got 12. Maybe you were just slightly sharper, and I'm not. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I don't want to sit here and argue against your practice as if I know better than you or how you operate. But for me, I'm like, well, 12 minutes, just get there 12 minutes early. Like, I always like to get a place, get there 10 minutes early, take a look around, be the first person there so that, like, you can, I don't know, ease in. Like, 12 minutes is almost like nothing to me. So the idea of,
is nothing.
like scheduling 12 minutes and then saying, then that will give me exactly 15 minutes to take a shower, get dressed, and be out by the curb to catch this car. All of that in 15 minutes. I'm like, dude, the water's still warming up for me 15 minutes into my shower. I'm still adjusting the knobs. No, I don't like take super long showers, but it's just like, yeah, I could just absorb that time so easily.
Listen, I agree. It made no sense what I was doing. It was totally insane. Because of 12 minutes is negligible, but this is for some reason how my brain works. I felt like going into the interview with zero sleep under my belt. That was more scary to me than the idea of oversleeping the alarm. Or it pushed out the fact that, yes, any other person, any normal human being just gets up and goes and gets in the shower. Like, I've got to be most people would use that time for more showering or more sitting in the lobby or more preparing their questions or more something,
more
getting to the
slapping
thing earlier.
Your own face in front of the mirror saying, you got this.
Exactly. Any of those things. I, for some reason, chose the least logical one. And there's no way for me to know if it helped or hurt the interview. I will say the interview went really well because it turns out Bridget Everett is an absolute, complete and total sweetheart and was like so engaged in the interview and was taking these questions that I asked that were probably threes, and her answers were so thoughtful and just like kind of life affirming and also just honest that it was definitely making the answers were much better than the questions, which is, a good outcome for me. She actually said that she had worked at a summer camp, not a summer camp, but like a sort of a musical dinner theater kind of. She said it was like, have you seen Dirty Dancing, Andrew?
I have not, but I do know that somebody carries a watermelon.
That is true. I think Jennifer Grey's character, a.k.a. Baby, carries a watermelon. I think you might actually kind of like that movie. Again, well, now that I said that, you're never going to watch it.
Now I'm going to hate it.
No, but like,
hate you and I hate your
actually kind of. That's kind of one of those movies. I didn't grow up with it, but people who love it really love it. And I think I thought maybe like, since I missed the window on it, I didn't watch it as a teenager or whatever, that it would not work for me. But I actually think it's a pretty well done film. But it's basically about this place, Kellerman's, which is this kind of like resort that families go to. But there's a lot of like arts stuff going on. There's like dance lessons, which is where Patrick Swayze comes in, and there's little musical performances and stuff like that. So anyway, I guess Bridget Everett worked at one of those camps when she was maybe out of college, and CBS Sunday Morning came to do a story about the camp. And she said she was so thrilled, even though she didn't even make it in the piece. She was like a, singer in the background somewhere. So she said to be sitting there being interviewed by CBS Sunday Morning, 30 years later about her career, she said was like a real high point of her life and her career, which is always a nice way to kick things off.
I know you guys won't do this, but you should cut her out of the interview. Just like
I was so tempted
see how life comes back and circles around.
What do they say? History doesn't rhyme, but it.
Oh,
I can't believe I'm forgetting.
I don't
this.
know if I know.
There's a phrase that basically means things don't happen exactly the same, but they happen in pretty similar ways.
Oh, is it sun glitch sunglass?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Now I've got it here. I'm Googling it.
No, actually, I'm sorry. That's a. I was going to make a Sunspot stopwatch song, which is, I think, a Pete Droge song, which I actually really like. I really like the song Sunspot Stopwatch. But so, yes, Bridget Everett was incredibly kind and made the interview go well, even though I might have been just a complete sleep deprived zombie during the interview. You know what I did manage to do was talk to her about Walt and Susie watching somebody somewhere, and I managed to not cry, although it was hanging by a thread. I had to, like Mulaney talking through a burp, I had to kind of just push right through the almost crying and avert my gaze a little bit, because whereas that sometimes happens on this show, and I feel like, when we get emotional, I think it tends to resonate with the listeners, hopefully, and it's just us being ourselves and being honest. I think it's certainly fine when it happens here. I didn't know if it was going to weird everybody else out on the TV shoot when the interviewer, I'm not even the focus of the story. Bridget Everett is the focus of the story. I didn't know if me crying would have made it a better or worse situation for everyone. So I somehow managed to stifle the emotion. I did not cry.
You're, is it William Hurting It? Were you William Hurting It from... I always get broadcast news.
Is it a
and
reverse
network
William
confused.
Hurting?
I think it's a reverse. You were trying to keep it in, right? Didn't they do a fake cutaway to him crying during an interview?
Yes,
I think that's
believe
broadcast
so.
news.
Yes.
Look
I
at
was
me, by the
reverse
way.
Bill Hurting.
Super, super proud of myself for actually getting that kind of close to right. But I doubt you would be the first person to get maybe slightly emotional talking to Bridget Everett. From everything I've heard about the show, that again, I don't think that I ever am like thinking, there's a reason why I haven't watched this show or whatever. It's like I sit down and I just watch whatever I watch, sort of, and I get into things for various reasons. But I do think there might be something playing at the back of my brain about this particular show, Somebody Somewhere. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this out quickly because I need to cough really bad. But I do know that it's a tearjerker. And even though everybody says it's really, really good, it's like, am I ready to put myself in that mind space?
Yeah, I'll talk for a minute while you deal with your cough situation. But like, it's such an interesting show to me because there are the moments that are emotional. They just hit so well, but it's also not. In fact, they had a phrase for it that I asked her about, called like I have my script here, actually, my questions. It's like they had a for basically TTC, a touch too cutie. That's what they would constantly say in the editing room, and also when they were developing the scripts, like, that's a touch too cutie. Like, in other words, if somebody's breaking up with somebody, although actually there really aren't that many breakups. Another thing that's interesting about the show is this is, the protagonist is this Bridget Everett character named Sam, who moves back to Manhattan, Kansas, where she grew up. And the goal for her is not to finally have a romantic relationship that fixes her life. And in fact, Bridget Everett said that was 100% not the point of the show. It was a stated goal at the beginning that was not going to be what goes on for her. And in fact, the sort of love of her life on the show is her friend, this guy Joel, played by Jeff Hiller. And because Bridget Everett's point was, there are all kinds of people in our lives that are important to us and that can be, in a way, a love of our life or an incredibly important love for us. And so, like, I thought that was a sort of an interesting way to take the show. It's just not one of those shows where, if she could just finally get a guy, then everything would be fixed for her. So anyway, there's just a lot about it that's very funny and very subtle. And that means when the emotional scenes happen, because you were talking about it being a tearjerker, it's certainly not something that is ever feels like it's trying to manipulate you as a viewer or trying to like have a really emo scene. In fact, they're constantly saying that's a touch too cutie to themselves, and then pulling back, then cutting stuff out of the show or not filming it because they don't want the emotionally impactful scenes to be corny or overdone.
Yeah, Genevieve always says, and again, it's stupid that I'm even continuing this conversation. I'm like the one person in the world who hasn't seen it now, or the one person listening to this probably who hasn't seen it. But she says, it's not sad, it's just going to make you cry. It's not sad.
Yes.
It's just going to make you cry. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. So her best friend, the character is named Joel. As I mentioned, he's played by this phenomenal comic actor named Jeff Hiller. This Jeff Hiller guy is never on screen, and you're not just beaming. You're not just smiling from ear to ear about just, I don't know, his aura or something. And he ends up in a relationship with a guy who's a little bit older than him and is, I think, they're both very invested in their churches that they go to, and they're both kind of like very in a way, just deeply Midwest and kind of like live a very kind of quiet, I don't know, just traditional Midwest life outside of the fact that they're two men who love each other. And the Jeff Hillard, Joel's partner's character, wants to write a song for him to kind of, he's bad at expressing his feelings. And so he tries to write this song for him about what he really loves about the Joel character. And there's this scene because they're having a party where he sings it to him. And the song is just like so simple. And the guy is kind of bad at singing and doesn't have great rhythm, but is committed to it in this way. But the song is also not corny. There is like, even talking about that song brings a flood of emotion for me. That was like, that's probably the hardest I've cried in a long time, was watching him do this song, which is a happy thing in the show. It's beautiful. He's just telling his boyfriend that he loves him.
That reminds me of, did you see the Schitt's Creek episode? This was a big thing where I can't remember anybody's name, but the main character, the son of the David.
David.
I believe it's his boyfriend who sings Simply the Best to him. And it's like, it became a very, and I apologize, I haven't seen that scene in a while, so if listeners are throwing their phones because I got it backwards, who sings to whom or whatever, apologies. But I just remember I remember seeing it in the show, it being incredibly emotional, and the way that you're talking about too, it's just an expression of love. It's just an expression of absolute tenderness and love, and also a vulnerability. A big part of David's character is that he doesn't allow a lot of vulnerability. He's sarcastic and dismissive and everything, and has trouble kind of showing his feelings. So to see this, which I believe he's the one who's sort of accepting the song from his partner, but it's nothing but love. But it makes you want to cry your damn eyes out.
Yeah, what you just said, Genevieve's description of the show is absolutely spot on, which is, it's not sad, you just will cry.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
It's not Schindler's List or something, you know what I mean? It's like it's a life affirming, but it's so good at it that it really has you feeling emotional. Now back to Schitt's Creek for a quick second, and then I have two other things that I want to run by you, although also I know that the technical times are probably annoying for you. I don't know, you're probably hearing every 7 word that I'm saying.
It kind of comes and goes. So sometimes, I don't know, it sort of comes and goes. But right now we're in a good vein of communication. So lay it on me.
Well, I did not see this scene because I didn't get all the way through Schitt's Creek. But the other day, Becca and I were driving somewhere, and she said, we saw one of those kind of massage places that you and I were talking about the other day. What, like Robert Kraft's favorite kind of place to unwind.
A more untoward one that you probably are not booking a spa day at.
Unlikely. And we were driving on this stretch of road that seemed to have an unlimited number of these locations. Okay. And we just kept pointing it out and being, hey, does anybody need a massage? And kind of whatever. And then she mentioned that the plot on Schitt's Creek was that on the night before David and his partner get married, I think.
Oh, okay. This is probably deeper into the show than I got.
Okay, so David's partner books him for a massage because he's been really stressed out and whatever. And David ends up getting a happy ending in the massage because he thought that that's what his partner had booked him for or whatever. And then the partner is like, what? And then I was like, to Becca, I was like, did they still get married? And she's like, yeah, I guess so. And I was like, interesting. I don't know if that's a Canadian thing. I don't know if that's just the writers. Like that. I thought it was interesting that one of the two people, and I'm not trying to moralize and I'm not trying to tell anyone how to live their life, but assuming that the premise of the relationship between David and his partner is monogamy, I think it's interesting that the writers wrote that he has this, I would consider it, sexual experience with somebody, and it's played as a kind of a laugh, like a misunderstanding. Like,
yeah,
you got a happy ending.
This is the first time hearing of this plot line, so I haven't seen it. It sounds like you haven't seen it, so maybe not best for us to break it down.
So this is a really good topic for both of us,
But I didn't think that that's where you were going with it. That doesn't, because it sort of sounds like, whatever. I haven't seen it, but it sort of sounds like he had this experience thinking that it was consensual with his partner. I think often the thing that could truly really get it, kind of strike at the heart of a relationship would be a sort of dishonesty or a sneaking around or a lying or whatever. And so you kind of take that. It's like, oh, I thought you got me this as a gift, and so it's more transactional in that way, not an affair of the heart, as the kids say.
No, I think you're right. I just thought it was funny because I said to Becca, oh, so he probably just got like something else, like a foot massage that he thought was called a happy ending. I thought that the misunderstanding was around the terminology and that the fiance would be freaked out, but then it would turn out it was just like, she put a hot towel on my back of my neck. I thought that's called a happy ending. He's like, no, he just got, and it was played comedically.
So you're almost thinking from a TV standpoint, like that's not usually the standards that an American comedy would, or the place. In American comedy
I was surprised to hear, and I was like, did they still get married? She goes, oh yeah, they totally still get married. I was like, wow, okay, I guess maybe I'm just a prude. I feel like that would be a bombshell in my relationship. The day of my wedding, to find whatever intent was, and I do agree with you that intent matters a lot here. I just was like, oh, I guess what I mean is like that's a pretty cosmopolitan take on this, or a pretty kind of like unhung up take on that kind of a thing, I guess. I don't know. I thought you had seen that episode, and so maybe you had more thoughts. But
no, I had not. Although it is just generally a really progressive show when it comes to relationships and talking about that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm not as taken aback by that as you are.
I want to let's see here. Okay, I'm going to be very quick about this part because it's probably not that interesting. But you remember when I was in Vegas and I played like speakerphone audio of me trying to call the front desk of the hotel I was currently in?
Oh yeah, it was weird, and because it took you to a switchboard, like literally in a different state, a different part of the country, right?
A different part of the world. I was calling it Australia. It's definitely somewhere where the accent is. I don't think it's Australian, for the record. Now it's somewhere else, but it's definitely offshore. Like I'm trying to call the front desk of the hotel. It's taking me to, I think, very likely another country altogether. And then if I'm lucky, back to the front desk of the hotel. Although here's what happened. I tried to call this hotel yesterday, and it's not a Bonvoy hotel. This is not even part of the same chain. And I'm in like Portland, and I'm calling them to make sure they don't give my room away because I'm not going to get here till like 7 a.m. And I call, and guess who picks up? One of those interceptors, one of those gals with a certain kind of accent and the same hold music, the same dogged determination to not allow me to talk to the front desk, but in a very polite way. Like, it was crazy. So I call and she's like, I think I'm staying at this place called the Park Central Hotel. Can I help you? I was like, yeah, can I have the front desk, please? Is there anything I can help you with? I said, oh yeah, you can help me by connecting me to the front desk. Okay, well, what's your name and how do you spell it? And I tell her my name and how I spell it. And then she says, okay, before I transfer you, is there anything else I can help you with? And I'm like, no, I don't want to be mean because this person's just doing their job. But it's like, no, I really just want to talk to the front desk of the hotel. So they put me on hold and then come back and say, the front desk is unavailable right now. Can I help you with anything? And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because now what I have to do is tell someone very far away from this hotel to tell the hotel that I'm not going to be there until 7 a.m, so please don't give my room away. And while that doesn't seem like such a crazy piece of information to transmit, it is still like, I don't feel good about telling someone who is in I don't know what side of the world they're in, to then call this hotel and somehow get someone at the front desk and then remember my name and then tell them to make sure that my room doesn't get canceled. It just made me so unsettled my entire trip out here.
Luke, we have our answer. The listeners will not hear any of the jankiness in today's show, I think, because I will be piecing it together. I'm having a lot of trouble actually hearing your story, but sorry, fewer.
No, I made it so bad that you had no choice but to fix it. I love it.
Oh, few. I thought you were correcting me, like when somebody says less and somebody says few.
No,
or whatever.
No, that was PHEW.
Yes. So anyway, point is, I think I caught the broad strokes of that story, and they're just trying to like prevent you from talking to anybody at the front desk. And like, my reaction to this is not I think it's oversized, and I'm not going to be very articulate about it, I'm afraid. But I'm going to try to tell you where my headspace is these days when you tell me a story like that. Like, that's just like a story about bad customer service, essentially. But like, I almost get overwhelmed with the state of things when I think about that. Now, listen, you're staying in a nice hotel with a lot of amenities and a lot of privileges or whatever. Like, generally speaking, I don't want to make this sort of make this out to be like you and I are some huge martyrs in society. But when I just think about the shortcutting of like kind of customer service, we read these stories, and we had one up on the show sheet the other day, or for some reason we were talking about the hospitality industry, like cutting this and cutting that and cutting this and cutting that, and like kind of COVID reset sort of expectations of what customer service is in a situation like that. But it's also like this kind of customer service is being affected not just when you stay at a fancy hotel, but also when your credit card is potentially hacked. Or for me, like, this is going to sound like a small thing, but I was kind of grousing the other day. I didn't get into details about some issues with my Google account and how it connects to how it's forcing me to re-verify myself all the time, but there's literally no help on the other end. And it's like Google has convinced me to put so much of my life in its hands, so much of my life, from my Google Wallet to like all these services. And then when something goes sideways, there's simply nothing you can do. You cannot. If you search for any kind of help with these Google products, it's just kind of like, well, join our community conversation here. And then like you hope that some other user might be able to help you because they had the same experience. And then how much of your personal information do you want to share in a setting like that? Like, again, that's just Google. This applies to so many things. And I get so overwhelmed with how this all seems to be wrapped up in like, okay, so these huge companies, which like somebody who owns these huge companies or the interests that own these huge companies are getting richer and richer and richer and more powerful and more powerful and more powerful. They're finding ways to cut out more and more and more jobs, whether it's through AI services that we're seeing more and more of. And I'm not even talking on the creative end of things. I mean, Microsoft just had thousands upon thousands of people laid off because they're specifically leaning more towards AI. And you're hearing stories from like employees who are like, we were told that it was a mission to include more AI in our work. We didn't need it. We don't even know what to do with it, but we were being reviewed on whether or not we were bringing AI into our work. I just like, you see how my thought leads from one thing. You have one bad customer service experience, but I just link it to what is going on in the world. And like, I don't know, nobody's going to have any jobs anymore like that are like these level of jobs. I just feel like we're totally cutting out this sort of middle class level of jobs. We're affecting basically every aspect of our lives by not being able to talk to humans anymore. And all I see is like more and more money and power going into the same pockets that are at the top of these things. And it's just so overwhelming. And I don't know that I'm making any sense at all, other than it really strikes me when you talk about your dad and like the smallest little conversation can sort of trigger him into thinking about how Trump is ruining the country. And it's just sort of like, I feel like I'm triggered like that all the time. And I'm just like, what are we doing anymore?
It is I don't know if you can hear me, but it is a massive extraction project. And the extraction is wealth is being extracted and consolidated within the hands of very few. And what is being extracted along with the wealth is the possible enjoyment of anything. If we want to talk about the customer service side of it, it's like extracting the enjoyment, or at least I should say the ease that I would have as a customer of just calling the front desk and saying, can you hold my room till 7 a.m.? That's now extracted because it puts more money. It's converted into more money that's going into the pockets of somebody or somebodies who own this whole thing. And also, you know, the extraction of jobs. I mean, it's just like a giant mining project where what's being mined is like living wage jobs and a convenient customer service experience and a whole bunch of other things. All of this stuff that kind of makes life livable is being sucked out so that they can be converted into money, so they can just be Scrooge McDucked into a pool somewhere so Jeff Bezos can get married in Venice.
And also by doing all of this, you're eliminating jobs while the government is passing bills that says like nobody should have any services, any kind of unemployment services or help, because you're all like, literally there was a congressperson, I can't remember who it was, who said, you got to get off the couch and stop eating your Cheetos or whatever. And it's like you're eliminating all of the jobs by courting these huge interests. And then I just don't know where we're going with all of this.
Yeah. I don't either, my friend. You know where we're going? To a voicemail, right?
Yes, we are. So we do have to kind of get out of here because the technology is not holding up super
Yes, I'm
well.
sorry
No,
about
that
this is on me.
But let us play a voicemail here. What I would like to do, though, is start properly.
Here I go once again with the
thank you.
email. Every week, I hope that it's from a female. Oh, man, it's not from a female.
So a couple of weeks ago on the show, Luke, as I'm sure you well remember, you told the story about how you were here in Seattle taking a jog around Green Lake. And it's notable that I didn't call it Greenwood that time. You were jogging around Green Lake and had to go to the bathroom really, really, really bad and almost had an emergency on your hands. Luckily, you were able to get into the Starbucks bathroom. Well, this was a story that, well, I think resonated with a lot of people, and Annie in particular, who left us this voice message.
Hey, friendos. It's your friend Annie from St. Louis Obispo, but who's actually calling you from Chicago's River North. So I went on a run on the lakefront today, as I'm sure Luke has done many a time, and it reminded me of a story I've been wanting to tell for the past couple of weeks since Luke was talking about his tummy trubs on his run. And as I was halfway through my run today, I started having a creeping sensation of what I like to call as code brown. Feels like it doesn't really need explanation. So about 10 years ago on Thanksgiving Day, I decided to go for a run in the morning, before eating the turkey and all the stuff. And so about a half a mile into my run, I realized I was creeping on the code brown and that there was no way I was going to be able to do my entire run. So I made a right turn and figured I'd just do a loop that went past 2 different stores, probably would be open on Thanksgiving. And about a quarter mile down that road, before the stores, I realized I was not going to make it to either of the stores. So I saw 3 pine trees next to the busy road, and I ran underneath the pine trees and proceeded to, so I had to wipe with leaves and sticks and finish my business, relieve the code brown. We're back to normal status, and then proceeded to hobble over to the Walgreens, which was in eyesight of the pine trees, and finished wiping there. So moral of the story is listen to your body, folks. The body keeps the score.
That's what the body keeps the score.
That's what that book is about.
Oh,
my
there
gosh,
you should have read it.
Man, to hobble into a Walgreens and ask them which way is your bathroom when you have to kind of do that particular walk is just on Thanksgiving of all days. It's rough.
Yes, on your favorite holiday, no less.
Exactly. All right, listen. We should probably go ahead and wrap things up because, again, it turns out New York City has really, really slow internet. Who knew?
We should be fine in friendship, though, right?
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I guess we're going to find out together how that's going to all work. All right, listen, Andrew, thanks again for thank you for your service, i.e. the next 3 hours of your life spent trying to salvage this show. Thank you to everybody who listened. We are going to be back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. I'm going to find a new hotel that has better internet, so we will see you from there tomorrow. In the meantime, everybody have a great rest of your Tuesday. Go Mariners up there in the Bronx tonight taking on the Yankees.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it. You're back in New York for the next series between these two teams.
I'm debating going to tomorrow. I will reveal if I ended up going to the Mariners game or not tonight. I'm very much on the fence about it. So
yeah, we should talk about it either way. I'm interested in knowing whether or not you go. I'm interested in just knowing your thought process and what it's like to see a Mariners game in New York City against the Yankees. I feel like I would be scared to do that.
I've done it before, and it was not intimidating. I'll put it that way. So anyway. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.